Hello to all my beautiful fellow painters of the world. Today we're going to do a springy, summery themed sort of very simple class. You can do this in either watercolor or acrylic paints. Today, however, I am going to be using acrylics because I think it'll dry a lot faster and it'll be a little bit easier. But you can use watercolors for this if you would like, if you would prefer. You could really do either or. And for today's class, we're going to be doing a classic, at least I think it's a classic like image, of this is going to be a very simple but very effective painting of a bicycle with a basket of flowers. Again, very simple, I think, but also very effective. It is very, very pretty. It's going to turn out really, really well. You'll be able to do your bike in whatever color you want, just saying that straight up front. I think today I was planning on doing mine in blue. And you'll be able to do the flowers in your basket, whatever colors you want as well. And again, those can be in acrylic or watercolor. Doesn't really matter. Again, I'm going to be using acrylic just because it's going to dry a little bit faster, just for the sake of time. So if that's what you're into too, to be super speedy. Otherwise, with watercolor, you'll have to have a little bit of dry time. You can put out, like, you can use like a hairdryer or something to make it like speed up a little bit. But in any case, let's go on ahead and we're going to just jump straight in today. And we're going to get started with, we need to sketch. This is going to be a little bit sketch intensive today. This is kind of the most advanced or difficult thing. The painting part is going to be super duper easy. Like beginners, all levels will be able to handle that. The sketching is going to be a little bit intermediate, but if you're a beginner, you can definitely follow along with me here and give it a shot, give it a try, and you'll be fine. It's really not going to be that bad. So to go on ahead and get started, I'm going to be just using a mechanical pencil today because why not? Mechanical pencils, you guys, work just fine. For art, a lot of people will probably tell you, oh, that's not proper, but here we are. I'm going to use a mechanical pencil. You can use a number 2 or another type of, I don't even know what other types of pencils there are, but you can use another type of pencil if you'd really like to. I like the mechanical pencil for this just because the lead is going to be really, really thin no matter what. If you're using a number 2, make sure you get it really, really sharp and thin on the point there. So we're actually going to get started by making our 2 wheels of our bicycle, because bi means 2, so like bicycle is 2 wheels. If you didn't already know that, fun fact, you probably already knew that though, because like tricycle, unicycle would be like 1 wheel, 3 wheel, Anyway, so to do this, sidetracked, okay, get with it here, Carrie. Okay, we're going to make 2 wheels. You can freehand your wheels if you would like, but I'm going to show you a tip. That's why I got out my giant jug of Mod Podge here. Because the bottom of this is a perfect circle. You see where I'm going with this, right? You can also use, I thought about using this red Solo cup, but then I'd have to dump the water out and get more water, so I didn't want to. Like the rim of a cup like this works really great. If you want to do a smaller bicycle, you can use the lid on even one of your paint tubes, but of course your bike wheels will be a little bit smaller then. We kind of want larger, at least I want larger bicycle wheels on my bicycle. So we're just going to go on ahead and plop down 2 circles. We're just going to trace the bottom, or I'm going to trace the bottom of this Mod Podge jug. You can use whatever you've got laying around. You guys look around your space. I almost guarantee you've probably got something within the room you're in, something within reach that's circular enough to trace. It's just going to help you out a bit. So let's go on ahead and make 2 wheels. I mean, you kind of should know what a bicycle needs to look like, right? Go here, and then one here towards the back of the page. We don't want them super duper close together, but we do want them a little bit spaced apart too. And just try to line it up so it's just even, with the bottom here. You can check and make sure it's even. So you don't have one circle all the way up here, right? We want them like kind of on the same plane, kind of even. Doesn't have to be super duper perfect. Just go all the way around that. Or again, freehand your circles if you'd like to. That's totally fine too. Just like that, we've got the start of our bicycle here. It's already starting to come together, you guys. We can already start to see maybe a little bit. So now from here, the rest of this is going to be freehand sketching. There's not really a good way to trace or even measure things out. It's going to be a lot of just guessing, guesstimating. So you can, as we do this, if you're not super duper comfortable or not super, advanced, not even really advanced, but just comfortable in your drawing techniques, You can watch the video a little bit, pause, rewind, and watch me do something again if you need to. But just try your best with this, you guys. It's not an exact science or anything. We're just sketching out a bicycle. So we're going to start from about the center of this wheel here, this one here, on the left. You can even make a little dot if you want to and what you think the center is going to be. Now we're first going to make kind of a swervy line that comes across here. This is going to be where the bike pedal is going to come from. But then we want to curve it up above this wheel, kind of mimicking the shape of it until about here. Again, there's really no great way to measure and, you know, trace. It's just kind of guessing. We want to go from here straight over about in between these two wheels, and then from there let's curve it straight up and over to about here. Not all the way to the center of this wheel, but about. Maybe about an inch over to the left of the center is where we want to stop that line. Okay? Now let's go ahead and we're going to mimic that line. We're actually going to make a second line just above it. This is going to be what it would be like on the back of the bike. So let's go ahead and start, let's see here, we can go from this center point. Let's draw it up a little bit, and then from there, see I kind of went up at an angle here, we will curve, we'll go this way, and then again, where we started the curve here, we'll go up, over, you can kind of do some sketchy lines like this if this helps. It helps me out a lot. All the way up to about the same place we stopped here. So these two lines that are kind of the same, and then of course down here we can start it by making this little diagonal up and to the right, and then we mimic it all the way up, right? Now from here, let's go ahead and draw out where the seat is going to be. So from where we went with this diagonal here, let's continue it upwards. So from that point, we're going to make another sketchy line like this. It can curve a little bit over, just a very, very slight, subtle curve, all the way over like this, about to here. Now from there, we're going to make kind of like a triangle shape out of this. So from down here, where we started this curve on the very bottom line here, we're going to start from there, and we're going to make a diagonal line all the way up to meet where we just finished with that one. So again, we just essentially made like a big triangle here. Okay. And again, if I'm going too fast for you guys, always feel free to pause and rewind. Absolutely no issue with that. That's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with watching something again. Okay. Go at your own pace, right? I don't want to push you to go faster than you feel you need to. And remember, with pencil, you guys, it's great because we've got erasers. That's what, you know, erasers were invented for. We can always erase and kind of redo and kind of fix up our lines as we go along. So now from here, let's make our seat. So this line, we're going to extend it up a little bit. Just like that. Maybe up like an inch, inch and a half. And then from there, you got it, we're going to make a little seat. So we can just make like the bottom of the seat like this. Again, free-handed. You can make a little curve on one side, a little curve up on the other side. Make it flat on the top with a little bit of a curve, just like that. Just so, you know, just looks like a little bike seat right there. Yeah, not bad, you guys, not bad. Looking great, looking awesome. Fantastic. Now let's go on ahead and we need to do our handlebars next. All right, we definitely do. So from where these two lines where we ended, we're going to make a line that goes from here down, but then we're going to connect it to the center of this wheel here. So I'm going to make a little dot again, just guessing where about the center of this wheel is. But we don't want a straight diagonal. We do want it to curve out a little bit. So we're going to go out and up, you know, towards the left a little bit. And then from there, once we get about an inch or two out, then let's go on ahead and bring it straight-ish up to connect to these two lines here like that. So it's almost like a clock. It looks like a clock here, right? Like a clock hand going this way for about 2 inches. But then we bring it all the way up to meet where these two lines ended. Now from there, we need to kind of bring this line up even further. But we're going to keep going this way with it. We don't want the handlebars to be, you know, we don't want this line to go straight up. Usually the handlebars are kind of leaned back a little bit, right? So from here where we ended, let's go just a couple of inches this way. This is going to be the highest point of the bike. So we do want it to be, we want to end this line higher than the seat by like at least an inch, okay? So we're making a diagonal line up and to the left, about 2 to 3 inches, okay? And once we get the edge of it there, part of this is going to be covered up by the flowers in the basket, so that's why we're not going to add a lot of detail here, but let's go on ahead and add 2 handlebars. So to do that, we can just bring it down, well, over and down like this. There's one handlebar. Now the second one is going to be partially covered up by the flowers. So I'm going to make mine like this, and you can do this as well. Just making like a rectangular shape like this. It's going to look like it's kind of just floating in space up here, but again, we're going to have flowers kind of covering and going around that, so not a big deal. It'll look better once we get the basket on there and all the flowers painted and looking all beautiful and all that, right? So while we're over in this area, let's go on ahead and add our basket on. Okay, so to do the basket, let's go on ahead and come like maybe an inch over from this line we just made. And let's start by making, we're just going to make like a big square shape. It comes down, not all the way to the wheel, because we don't want the basket touching the wheel, because then you wouldn't be able to make the wheel go, and then your bike would be stuck. So we'll do like that. We'll make a little bit of a line over this way, maybe up, diagonal up just a little bit. Bring this line up, like that. Like that. And then of course across like that. So if we just got a square basket here. But again, the flowers are going to be like kind of coming over top, the top, and so it's all going to look a little bit more filled out in this area here once we get those flowers added in. Which we'll add with paint. We don't need to sketch the flowers or anything. We'll just do them straight up with paint. Now, let's see what else we can add to make our bike even more detailed before we actually get started painting. I think we could add, well, definitely we need to add a pedal down here, okay? So let's go on ahead and let's make a small, not like as big as the wheels, let's make a small circle. If you have something smaller you can trace, you can for this, but this is going to be pretty tiny, so I'm just going to go ahead and freehand it. From about the center in between these 2 lines here, just going to curve around, maybe like nickel sized or so. Yeah, like the size of a nickel. You could even trace a nickel if you wanted to. Right there like that, making a circle. So this is like the gear shift, you know how you get the pedal to go around here, right? Right, anybody with me here? Now from there, let's go from, you see how we've got this line here that's coming down? We want to keep going with this line, but let's skip all the way to the other side of the circle. So we're going to leave a gap here, in between here. Come to this side of the circle, and this is where we're going to bring the pedal down. So let's make a line that's about an inch, inch and a half down. And then from there, you can actually make your pedal go any way you want, because you know the pedal, it can be sitting either way when it's resting. So I'm just going to make like this. Just a line going this way. This is going to be our pedal. Like that. Now, you guys, we're really close to being done with our sketch and to get started painting already, believe it or not. I know the sketch part is really tricky because it's a lot of free-handed stuff. But you guys know I keep saying it over and over again. If you need to rewind, pause, rewatch, retry something, totally fine. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. So I think this might be our last 2 lines unless I come up with something else. But we want to have kind of like those lines, or you know, part of the body of the bike that goes above either of the tires to kind of like hold them in place. I don't know how to describe it. You'll understand when you see. Okay, so we're going to kind of mimic the shape of the tire starting from this line here. We're not going to go all the way over, maybe to about like here. That way. And then let's make a line this way. It's not really a line, it's more of a curve because again, we're curving around the sides of the tire until about here. Alright, so we make this like half moon crescent shape, I guess, of a curve from here to here, above this tire here. Now let's go on ahead and do the same thing with this tire here, but instead of doing it on the left side, we're going to flip it and do it on the right side, so it's, you know, on the inside of the bike. So again, from wherever, I'm going to start from this line here. I'll just make a sketchy curve. It goes pretty far down to about here. And then above, I'll come over this way with my hand, there we go. Comes all the way over to about here. Just on the back side of the tire like that. Awesome, awesome, awesome work, you guys. We just have one thing left that I just remembered that we're gonna do before we actually get started painting. But this part is pretty fun. You're gonna have fun with this. So we're going to make the lines of like inside the tires, you know, like the bicycle tires have these, the metal, I don't know what you call it, the lines that go inside. So we're going to do this with pencil. And these are lines that are just gonna stay like this. We're not gonna paint over them because we want them to actually appear pretty thin, and I think if we go over them with a paintbrush they'll seem too thick. So we're just going to sketch them in pencil, and then we're just going to leave them in pencil. So it's going to be kind of a mixed media thing when we're all said and done. Like there will be some pencil lines showing through along with some paint lines and everything, so it's going to be kind of unique. Plus also with pencil, you guys, it's kind of that silvery, like with the graphite look, it's very silvery in color, which is the color that we actually want these lines to be on the metal part of the tire anyway. So I think this is going to work out really well. So once we get started doing this, you'll be able to kind of go off and do this on your own. You don't have to do exactly what I'm doing. You'll understand in a second. We're going to go from the center of each of these tires, pick one, doesn't matter which one you start with. And we're going to make some of these sketchy lines, make them as straight as you can. From one edge of the tire straight through the center to the other. Then you can go turn a little bit and do it another way. And just sketching it straight through the center of the tire. You can use like a ruler or a straight edge to help you do this too, to help keep your lines really, really straight if you want. I'm just going to go ahead and freehand them, but again, if you've got a ruler or something, you could just put down and make those lines really straight. That would actually be really easy for this. But we're going to rotate this tire and do this a couple of times in a couple of different places. You can have some of these lines close together, some of them farther apart. Just making a wheel, right? Literally, this is making a wheel, the wheel shape. But again, some lines super duper close together, some maybe not. We want it varied, because that's how it is on like an actual bike tire. Okay. And once you've got quite a few that go straight all the way through, then we're actually going to come back and we're going to do some more lines that don't go straight through, right? So I'll show you what I mean by this. So now I'll go from the center up this way. I'll make a line here. But I'm not going to bring it straight through, so that again we're varying the lines a little bit so they're not all super duper even, because that's actually not, they're not super even on an actual bike tire if you look at a real bike tire. So I'll make some close together, some farther apart, maybe some really close together like this. Yeah. Again, making a wheel. You can add as many or as few lines as you want when we're doing this. This is what I mean when I said you'll understand, when you can just kind of do this on your own at this point. Adding your own lines wherever you would like. I do think the more lines the better, actually, for this, because it kind of creates the realism a little bit more, makes it a little bit more detailed. Keep rotating your page and adding more and more lines. Have fun with this, you guys. Make it fun, make it yours. And just take a couple of minutes to do this. Again, maybe there's some where there's some really close together. Maybe there's some where there's a little bit of a gap in there. We do a couple of areas where they're really close together. This takes a couple minutes, so just be patient with it too, you guys. And don't rush through. Take your time. Make it nice and pretty. Pretty as best you can. Just to again make that bicycle wheel look as nice and realistic and detailed as possible. Now, once you've got that tire done, or if you're still working on it, you can always pause, take more time. Like I said, no rush here. Kind of already guessed it. We're gonna do the same thing to the other tire because there's two, because it's bicycle, which means two wheels. So just like we did before, we'll start by making a couple of lines, sketch straight through, and then we'll fill it out by making some half lines, you know, from the center to the edge in a couple of different areas as well. Hopefully, once you've got this tire, eventually gets done. Again, it does take a couple of minutes to do this. You'll be an expert at drawing bike tires, and you can tell everybody that you're an expert at drawing bike tires. Because who knew drawing bike tires could be such a skill that you could learn. Alright, now I'm going to go from the center out all the way around a couple times. Try to get the same level of detail in the second tire that you did with the first. So however many lines you added on the first, try to add just as many in this one so they look pretty even. Again, that'll help make things look really realistic too. See what I mean when I said this is kind of the fun part? Like, this is kind of fun, right? It's kind of relaxing in a way. Yeah, maybe a little. I hope so. Because art is supposed to be fun and relaxing, so let's try to make it as fun and relaxing as we can. Okay, I think I got that wheel looking pretty good and pretty equivalent to the first one. Yeah, I definitely did there. So, our next step, you guys, get ready. We're gonna start painting. You're like, finally. It didn't take too long, right? It wasn't too terrible, all the sketching process, and we already got the wheels, like, good to go. So that's a big plus. So now let's go on ahead and start with painting. Now for this, you can do your bicycle in any color you want. Totally up to you. Artist choice, as I always like to say. You're the artist, you get the choice. I'm going to do mine in blue. I'm going to use my ultramarine blue. So I'm going to put some of this. I am doing this in acrylic. Again, you can do this in watercolor if you'd like. Acrylic is just going to dry faster and it'll be thicker so it won't move around as much. But again, if you're really gung-ho about watercolor yeehaw, right, go on ahead and go for it. But I'm going to use acrylic paint. So what we're going to do to make the color of the bike is we're going to go over all of these sketch lines aside from the tires themselves. And like aside from maybe the handles, the seat, and the basket. Those we can do a different color for a little bit of variety. So this is just going to be like what would be the body of the bike. So going ahead and with a small round head brush is going to be best for this. You can also use a very small flat head if you want to. I'm going to use my small round head. And I'm going to go from left to right just because I am right-handed. Especially, I mean, at least when I paint. But I'm going to go from left to right, so I don't, if I go from right to left, I may end up smearing my hand through the paint as I go. So I'm going to start with the lines on the left side first. And again, you're going to have to dip back for quite a bit of paint a couple of times, but we're just going to go over all of these lines as best you can. And your lines can be kind of thick, not too thick, but it can definitely be thicker than the pencil line we put down because that would be like impossible and we don't want it to be that thin anyway. Right, see how this is definitely a thicker line than this, just the pencil line itself. Just use the pencil, the sketch lines, you guys, as like a guide. Just as like a guide as to where you want to go. Make that a little bit thicker on that side so it's closer to the tire, like that. We do want a little bit of a gap between this line and the tire when we do these two lines on either side of the tires because we are going to paint the tire with black or dark brown or something else to that effect in a little bit. But for right now, we just want to get the color of the bike going. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to remember that there's this line here. It's kind of hard to see where it goes because we did all these lines on the tire, but it does go all the way down like this, or at least it should, to the center of the tire. So you can make kind of a thick-ish line there like that. Now, same thing down here. You can remember these lines go straight across over top the tire. You come through this circle and it curves and goes up. And the same thing with the line on top of that. Remember, it starts here, comes over, curves here, and then comes up. A nice gentle curve. And then from the bike seat down as well. Again, take your time with this too, no rush. I'm just kind of walking you through where all the lines are that we want to do. The center of the circle. And again, we'll want to do the pedal down. We can make the pedal itself a different color though, because I think that would be weird if I made it blue. So I'm just going to make this line here, and I'm going to come back and do the pedal later. I'll probably do the pedal, the seat, and the handlebars. Maybe even the basket too, all the same color. I'll make them a different color in a minute. But then I am going to trace over this whole circle as best I can with my brush. Just like that. And then over here, I've got this line that comes down from the handlebars, like this. Comes down here, and then it is difficult because we did those lines on the tire to see, but it comes about to here, and then it does veer off and curve right to the center of this tire, like that. And I think the last line I've got that I'm going to do in this color is this one here. Just like the very first one I did, that goes over top the tire on this side. Just like this. Perfect. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful work, you guys. So now from here, before you go and put this color away, before we put this color up, whatever color you're using for your bike, we are going to make some free-handed circles inside of the tires. Don't hate me for this. It's not going to be that tricky. I promise you'll be okay. So I'm going to start by getting some more of this color on my brush. You can watch me do this at first. That's totally fine. But we're going to make a line that goes on the inside of the tire just for an added pop of color, and I think it'll look really nice. So I'm going to go like on the inside of this line all the way around. I might cover up the line a little bit, that's okay. We're going to, again, make a black tire as well, but this is just going to be on the inside of that black tire. All the way around on both of the tires like this. All the way around. Again, making our line pretty thick generally, but not so out of control. That's why using a smaller brush, using a smaller brush definitely helps. Make it the width, make the line, or the curve rather, the width that we want. Just like that. Okay? And then again, we're going to do the same thing on this tire here. Just wherever you want to start along the edge, we'll go on the inside of that line all the way around the edges of the tire. The tire, yes. Are you feeling tired yet? Oh, I tire of painting tires. That's a good pun. Okay. You guys probably also, I mean, hopefully you don't get tired of my puns, but you know, and my dumb jokes. Anyway, just trying to make it fun. We're just trying to have a good time. Okay. So I got that all the way around like that. Now from there, I am done with the blue, I believe, unless I do some blue flowers, but I probably won't. I'll probably switch it up and do some other colors, so I don't need my blue anymore. So I'm going to clean my brush off. Wipe it clean. So now we can start to do a little bit more with our dark color. Okay, so whatever we want to use for the tire, you can use black. Would probably be a really nice option. I don't personally use black. I usually use raw umber instead, which is pretty similar. It's close enough to black. So this is what I'm going to be using. So I'm going to put some of this on my palette. And this is, again, what we're going to use for the tires, the bike seat, and the handles. And possibly the basket. That's up to you, what color you want to make your basket. I think I'm going to make mine brown. I think I'm going to use burnt umber for that after this, though. That's not quite to that point yet, so don't worry about it. So let's go ahead and start out by using this black, or like I'm using raw umber, or you can use like a really dark gray, or just a regular gray, anything like that, just something kind of dark. So I'm going to start out by doing the easy stuff first, I guess. And I'm going to fill in this bike seat. Very, very simple. We're just going to fill in the seat with this color. And then the handlebars before we do the tires, because the tires are a little bit more involved. So I just want to get this easy stuff out of the way. Again, these handlebars will be like peeking through the flowers, which will be the last step. So don't worry too much if they don't look exactly quite right. The flowers will be able to cover them up a little bit. Okay, so now after that, I am going to do the tires. So I'm going to get a bit of this paint on here. And now what I'm going to do, this is a little bit free-handed again. I'm going to go around the tire, around that blue part we just did a minute or two ago, to create this black tire. Now if you go over top that color of your wheel a little bit with this, that's fine. You probably will go over it just a little bit on the edge of it. But again, we're going to kind of draw with our paint a tire all the way around. And just like before, we want this kind of thickness, this width of the curve of the line. We don't want it too thick, but we also don't want it too thin. Now when you get up to lines like this is important, you guys. We want to go behind it. We want the tire to look like it's going behind it. So we're not going to paint over that line. We're going to paint in between these two lines, so it looks like the tire's going behind it. Just when you get up to a line like that, I'm going to come up here and go from this side over. You can leave a little bit of a white space between your tire and this blue part up here, or whatever your color is if you want. I think that's really a nice touch to leave just a tiny little bit of a gap if you can. I know it's kind of tricky. If you can and you do end up touching that line, no big deal, really not a big deal. And even here, we want to go behind this line as well. So we're going to go from there all the way down to this line. So it looks like the tire is behind those two lines. Yes, excellent, perfect, you guys. I know it's a little bit of a challenge, this part. Just breathe, work with me through it, it's going to be fine. Now, go on ahead and let's do the same thing with this other tire. This one, there's less lines going in front, so hey-o. That's nice, right? So you don't have to worry about that as much. But again, just making this sort of, this typical thickness that we've been doing with the rest of the bike. With your dark color, your black, raw umber like I'm using, gray, whatever you've got. All the way around, all around town here. You can go curve one way, you can go curve from the other side. Whatever you want or need to do. Again, go behind this line. This is the only one here we got to worry about, this line here. We're gonna make it look like it's going behind that, yes. And again, try to leave a small gap of white in between this tire and the colored part above it, this curve. But if it touches a little bit, no big deal. Like I've got it touching here and I've even got it touching there a little bit too. No biggie. Any white spots you might have on either of these tires all the way around. Make sure the curve is really nice and even all the way around, just like that. Gorgeous, gorgeous, you guys. Very nice. Oh, and before we get, I actually almost forgot, let's make sure, before we're done with this color, that we go on ahead and do our petal as well. Just paint over it like that. So that we've got our little petal. Yes. We need that, for sure. I almost forgot about that. Such a small little detail. Now, from here, this is again where you get your artist choice, multiple options, whatever you want to do. You get to do your basket in whatever color you want. You can do it in this dark color if you'd like to, or you can switch to another color. I want to do mine in kind of like a brown, so I'm actually going to use burnt umber for this, which is essentially very close to a brown. It's not going to take very much, so I'm just going to put a little bit on my palette. I'm almost out of paint actually, so probably I might have to squeeze just a little bit to even just get a little bit out, but there we go. But with a clean brush, I'm going to dip into this color, and I'm going to go to town over here, and I'm going to fill in this whole basket with this color. And I'm actually going to try to create a little bit of texture. You can do this too if you'd like to try, by going just side to side and kind of varying your brush strokes and maybe letting a little bit of white poke through those brush strokes as well. Maybe some areas where the paint's a little bit thicker, some areas where it's a little bit thinner. Just going side to side over top it. So again, it gets kind of this like basket weaving texture, I think. Just kind of nice. It's very simple, but if you're doing this with watercolor, there may not be as much texture because watercolor doesn't hold texture as well as acrylics, so you don't have to worry about this. But if you're working with acrylics, it's a nice thing to try. Going side to side, one brush stroke over top another. Until we do get to the top. And if you want to, from there, you can make like a small line along either side just to get those gaps filled in if there are any. Just so that there's a nice line along either edge. Yeah. Now from here, pause if you're not quite ready for the grand finale. We're going to add our flowers. I saved the best part for last, honestly. We saved the best part for last, you guys. So now, again, watercolor or acrylic, that really doesn't matter as much for this part. We're going to go on ahead and put some flowers in our basket and really fill it out. So, first things first, you'll probably want to add some greenery. So if you've got a tube of green paint, go on ahead and get it out, use it. Otherwise, I don't have any here because I like to mix my own. So I know from color theory, if you guys have ever done color theory with me before, I have a couple color theory classes here that you can check out. According to color theory, we know that green is just yellow and blue mixed together. Okay. Typically though, it takes a lot more yellow than blue just because yellow is so light in hue. So I'm going to put down some yellow here on my palette. Like that. And then from there, I'm going to take a mixing tool of some sort. I'm going to use this paint spatula. I've already got some blue on my palette. If you haven't used blue yet, you can just get some out of your tube. I'm going to get just a little bit on the end of this mixing tool, not very much, like a pea-sized amount really. I'm going to put it in this yellow and I'm going to mix it all together to get myself a really nice shade of green. Okay. Now, I'm going to wipe this tool off. Now before I mix up any more paint colors for the other flowers, I'm going to actually just apply this green right to the page right away because I know it's going to take it a minute or two to dry and I can let it dry while I'm mixing my other colors, and you can do this as well. I think that'll be helpful. So with a nice clean brush, again I'm using a small round head, doesn't have to be a super big one. I'm going to dip into this green. I'm going to get quite a bit on there. Now from here, I'm going to come over to this basket and I'm going to kind of do like a dabbing effect. I'm going to do this all over top, like the very top edge of this basket. Like this, okay? And I'm going to dab all the way across here. So again, this is adding some really nice greenery for us. Kind of make it so it's like coming down the sides of the basket a little bit, like the leaves are falling, you know, that's like really a nice touch. Okay, we're just going to dab all the way across the top of the basket to start. Now from here I'm going to come over to where my handlebar is just like floating in space here, and I'm going to dab around the bottom of that as well and kind of connect to where I left off over here, like that. Now from there, I'm going to dab all around and kind of bring it up more just to fill things out. Again, we're going to add some flowers on top, but this is just so we have a nice base coat of greenery to work with so that we can see the leaves showing through as we add the flowers. Maybe you even come down the side of this side of the basket as well, just a little bit. Like that, perfect. That works out really nicely. Now from there, that's all the green we needed, so you probably mixed up more than you needed. You can take the paints on your palette after this class and maybe practice something else with them, just so you don't feel like you're wasting your paints. You can always do some other classes with me here, some other free classes that I've got available. Or again, you could go on ahead and try color theory with me, where I've got like a blending workshop class that you can use some of these paints for as well, so again, you don't feel like you're wasting them or anything. Now from there, I'm going to go ahead and mix up a couple of colors, just a few, that I can use as flowers in my basket. So whatever color flowers you want to use is totally up to you. Again, I'm going to do some, actually, just so that I don't feel like I'm wasting paint, I'm actually going to use my leftover brown / burnt umber here. I'm going to add some white to it because when you add white to this color, it actually turns kind of like a peachy, a very light red, almost pinkish but not quite color. So I'm going to add some white to that, and I'm going to turn that into one color I can use for my flowers. Now, you can use as many different colors as you want for your flowers. Feel free to experiment, mix some things up, play around. If you're using watercolors, get a couple of different ones out. Again, knowing your color theory will really help you out with this, but I would recommend using at least 2 or 3 colors so that we get a good variety of colors, of foliage, if you will. Foliage, I always like to say, of flowers or little roses, kind of, in our basket. So I've got this color. It's kind of like a peachy, kind of a mauve, really. This is more of like a mauve tone. And let's see here. I want to do at least 2 other colors. So I think I'll also use just regular straight up red. And it does not take very much paint, you guys, to do these flowers. So you could have just like a pea-sized amount here. So again, we don't feel like we're wasting it or anything. Just a pea-sized amount or so is all you'll need. And then for my last color, I'm going to do something I don't usually do. I'm going to use magenta. Because this is not actually a primary color. However, or at least not in the world of painting and mixing and color theory and all the things. It is a primary color in other realms like computer science and stuff, but that's beside the point. I'm going to get out this magenta because it is really difficult to mix magenta with the other artist primary colors. And it's a little bit of a brighter pink. So then I've got 3 shades of kind of warm pinkish hues, pink and red hues here, that of course I can use. Now I can go ahead and start with any of these colors, and again, using the same brush is fine. A small round head brush, even a small, like a smaller, very small flat head brush will work fine. And it doesn't matter what color you go with first, just glob up quite a bit on the end of your brush. Come over here, over top your greenery, we're going to do some more dabs and just space them out a little bit so that we get this look of flowers going on here. Now don't overwhelm it all with one color. Make sure you space them out. Don't go crazy because we've got other colors we want to add to. Okay, so there's one color. I'm gonna clean my brush off. See, it doesn't take very much paint for this. Really not much at all. I'm gonna go ahead and dip in my next color. It does help to get quite a bit on there so that we can really, it kind of builds a little bit of texture too. But that way we can really dab it in there. Maybe make some big splotches, some small. Maybe you do some over top your other color a little bit. That looks really nice. And again, if you're doing this with watercolor, definitely you'll want to wait in between each layer before you add the next layer of color. With acrylics, you definitely don't have to wait as much. That's why I really felt like doing acrylics for this class. Saves both of us, me and you, some time. So I can get it done faster. You don't have to sit here and watch me wait on wet paint to dry. Now I'm going to dip into my last color here. I'm going to add it in a couple of different areas as well. Maybe come over top the basket a little bit. Just like that. And of course, less is more when it comes to this. I know when we were doing the bike tires, it was like more, you need a lot of lines. With the flowers, less is really more. It really is. You don't need a whole lot of globs on there because then it won't look as realistic. We still want some of the greenery to show through. And if you did lose a bit of the greenery, you do have your green paint over here still. You can always dip back in And you can dab in some more areas, some like leaves, wherever you'd like, just if you want to. Once you've done that, you guys, guess what? You're completely done. Beautiful, beautiful, very simple. Again, like I said in the beginning, simple yet effective painting today. So I really hope you guys enjoyed doing this bicycle painting class with me. If you did, be sure to check out all of my other painting classes that are available right now, both here that are free on YouTube, and also a lot of the premium classes that you might enjoy over on my Canvas Academy online learning platform, where I've got tons of classes and courses just like this. They're for beginners to advanced painters that are super duper detailed, super duper in depth. That'll help you learn everything from like how to paint landscapes and really detailed flowers, a little bit more detailed even than the ones we did in this class, to even how to paint like portraits if you've ever been interested in learning how to paint a portrait. I break everything down for total beginners in that full How to Paint a Portrait for Beginners course. That's literally what the title of it is called. So again, just be sure to check out all of those classes and courses now available on Canvas Academy. And aside from that, I will paint with you all again very soon, my fellow painters.